So I was watching this video on Patrick Suter's channel of a score reduction of A Change of Season from the first Harry Potter movie, because that's how I like to spend my spare time. And I found this E7 over D chord that kind of stuck out to me as off, as out of place, especially coming after the B major 7, which has a D sharp in it. You got this E7, it doesn't really resolve where I expected it to. So I thought, what is going on here? So I decided to reach out to Ben Kidd from 8-Bit Music Theory, who's going to join me today and help me figure this out. So Ben, thanks for helping. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
What do you think?
I'll see what I can do. It's an interesting one because I feel like it doesn't stand out as being particularly weird. Like you're just kind of enjoying the melody of it. And then when you look at the music, you're like, oh yeah, what is like that doesn't make much sense. Like forget the inversion for now, just like an E7, like a 4/7 chord with a sharp 11 on top, like in the melody. That's where my jazz school brain comes in. Like a dominant 4 chord with a sharp 11. That's like a sound that happens, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like the blues, it's like a blues thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
A dominant 4 chord to 1. That's like the
right.
blues progression. So it's like it's almost like that. Like functionally, it kind of makes sense as that, like a dominant 4 to 1, but then you sub the 1 out for its relative minor.
That's interesting. Yeah, think of it as a blues chord. All right.
Yeah, or it's like, I don't know. It's not, it doesn't feel bluesy, but it does like, that's like, jazz standards will have that move in it. So I feel like it's kind of a jazz standard taken from that vocabulary, maybe.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what John Williams is thinking, but
oh yeah, well I've seen somebody compare John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith, who were kind of like at the time rising together, and John Williams being kind of the jazz guy.
There's definitely, I've heard a few like he definitely has some big chords that you would not,
Right.
that wouldn't sound out of place.
I mean, the thing for me, we can over-explain everything for its own sake, but always for me, it's I want to know why so that I can do it too. So
Right.
I can like, why?
Yeah.
How did he know to do that? Why is it a tritone movement in the bass? And when would I think to do that? I don't know though.
Well, I had another theory
Okay.
where I was thinking that D in the bottom, that might be foreshadowing almost, because after these 5 bars of music, it lands on that B flat 7,
Mm-hmm.
which is very like very attention grabbing. And there's a big D natural in the melody, and that's kind of the first time that the melody isn't diatonic to B in this, since we went into B. So I wonder if it's like a little foreshadowing, a little like just setting the table a little bit so it doesn't totally come out of nowhere when that D natural hits you in the melody. So I think that this E over D is a foreshadowing maneuver. I think that's why he put it in. That's my final answer.
No, I like that.
The example I always think of is If I Fell by the Beatles, where it starts in D flat and then the main bulk of the song is in D, and instead of just like being in D flat and then modulating to D, in D flat they do like they put a D chord in the key of D flat as like a tritone subby type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just like having that sound established before the modulation, it makes it feel less gimmicky almost or something. So I feel like this foreshadowing of modulations is a kind of an established technique maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's some craft right there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty good.
Wouldn't put it past John Williams.
Sure. Yeah, I've heard he can do a thing or two. So you've got something for me to look at, I think.
Yes.
There's two things going on here. There's kind of like, what is this chord? And then also, what is the B natural? The B natural is what's sticking out as odd because of how
True.
I generally interpret the chord. So the way it even just viscerally feels to me is like an augmented sixth chord over the F7. So it feels like we have it here as, it depends if you want to call this F sharp or G flat, but it feels to me as this kind of, that kind of flat 6, 7 sound
Interesting.
in third inversion, which is interesting because it makes the bottom feel like a diminished chord.
Yeah.
But we have the G flat. It's really just.
That's so interesting. I never thought of it that way before. I was always like, oh yeah, E diminished with some stuff on top.
So yeah, so
makes
change
so
that to a
much
G
sense.
flat. Well, it's weird to put it in that inversion, is why it sounds all like spooky. But really, yeah, it's just like. But then there's the separate thing of like, well, what's up with that B natural?
That is a weird sound.
It is a weird sound. So yeah, I honestly, I don't have a good explanation for the B. I feel like my, the flat 6 dominant thing, sub 5 of 5, however we want to call it, that feels right as far as just what it feels like,
No, that makes a lot of sense to me.
But the B, I don't know. I mean, I wonder sometimes these things are like accidentally played the fifth and was like, yeah, that's actually pretty good. I'll go with that, instead of it necessarily being like an intentional.
Right.
Intentional
Yeah, and all
dissonance,
this kind of analytical stuff. There's always a
Right.
caveat of like, and the composer probably wasn't thinking of this
Right.
at all. But
Or
yeah, I wonder.
I mean, back to that idea of why does it work, or how would you think to do this, or why is it cool? I mean, we get the flat 9 interval sneaking in there, and then it resolves, which is nice.
Yeah,
So we get that extra bit of like, this chord is bad. No, everything's okay. This chord is really bad. No, everything's okay.
The voice leading is strong. That B ends up just moving up. It kind of dances around it, but that
Right.
resolution to the C inner voice is like there. Like that's strong.
Right.
Ah.
That's all I got. I don't know.
I like it. I like that. This is like a very selfish pick for me of like, can you tell me why this?
Well, that's awesome. That's
It's
what
like-
I was hoping this would be. This video.
Awesome.
So, all right. Let's look at another one then.
All right.
All right. So for this next one, another score analysis that I was looking at for kicks on David McCauley's channel, which is fantastic if you guys are looking for score reductions of film scores. It's Jim Saves the Crew from James Newton Howard's Treasure Planet. And there's this beautiful G flat over C that's used as like not exactly a pivot chord, but used to modulate to a new section. Maybe we can take a listen to this, and then you can just explain to me why.
Okay.
Why? I feel it's so satisfying when we get to the E flat. We're just like, yes.
It's like, why? Why does that work?
Why does that work? What do you think?
Yeah. So okay. In my jazz school brain, immediately I see G flat over C. And I think like a C7 altered dominant type of thing. But like having a C7 resolve to an E flat minor is super weird, like that's totally not, like it doesn't really feel like a good resolution. Especially, I don't know, especially with just like a G flat triad in the upper voices. That's so similar to E flat minor that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of resolving happening.
Right.
And then the bass is a jump of a third too, so like that doesn't feel resolved either. But then somehow it works.
Well, I
out.
guess let me check the assumption. Do you agree that it feels good when it gets there?
It does. It does feel good. And, there is something to be said for just like a tense chord moving to a not tense chord will feel resolved because there's less tension all of a sudden. So, like, even though functionally it maybe doesn't make any sense, like that you're moving to a nicer place. So, of course, it will still feel like you're resolving on some level.
And I guess there's so much context. Like you were just playing that little, like that, the repetitiveness has some tension in it. That's like, okay, come on, like let's get on. And then there's the crescendo and everything's holding. And then when it lands so confidently off into the new thing. So, you may be right. There may be 24 other tense chords that would work here too.
Right, true. How you say it, how you play it, makes a huge difference too. I have one more thing that I could say about this.
Okay.
Because if you're thinking, okay, but why did he choose a G flat over C chord? Like what informed that process? I think it's because he's going A flat to B flat, up to C to D flat, and that D flat resolves nicely to G flat, right? Like that's a 4-1.
No, you just pointed out the pattern though. A, B flat, A, B flat, C, D flat, C, D flat, E flat's next.
Right.
Yeah, right. They're on different pages. That's the problem.
That's right. No, that's true. So it's all this momentum that takes you where you expect to go, but then the thing that makes it even, tense getting there is dropping that G flat in the right at the end instead of what you would expect from the context, from the momentum.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm glad
sticks out as way
glad
more.
you caught that.
Oh well. Huh.
That's interesting.
Well. Yeah. It's funny. Okay.
Tag team analysis.
If you guys are into the weeds of music theory and kind of pondering the things that don't always quite make sense, then you definitely have to check out the 8-bit music theory video here about the music from Okami. Well, thanks for being here. It's so fun.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me throw these tunes at you. I know they were.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.